The officiant asked my son's father to stand. I was already standing, holding 5-month-old Theo against my shoulder. Then my best friend Bennett rose from the front row and walked to my wife. Behind them, the screen changed to a photograph I had never seen. Emily, Bennett, our 10-year-old daughter Ava, and the baby beneath the words "a family by choice." I had not been cropped out. I had never been in the picture. Emily caught my eye and pressed one finger to her lips. "Please," she whispered. "Ava thinks you agreed." That kept me from shouting, because Ava stood near the flower arch clutching a folded page and watching me as if one wrong movement might split the room. 80 relatives and friends had come to the botanical garden for Theo's welcome ceremony. I had chosen the music, carried in the favors, and written a promise about teaching him to skip stones. Bennett was listed in the program as godparent. Nothing in the ceremony I approved asked me to surrender the word father while I held the baby everyone believed was mine. Ruth, the officiant, looked between us. Emily, Bennett stopped beside my wife, pale but determined. He wore the blue tie Ava had given me for Father's Day the year before. "Dan knows," Emily told the room. A few guests laughed nervously, mistaking the silence for a modern family surprise. My mother lowered her program. Emily's sister Rachel stared at the screen. I handed Theo to my mother because my hands had begun to shake. Ruth paused the ceremony. Emily stepped between me and Ava. "We agreed not to make today about us. We never discussed this." Bennett said, "You told me he understood." Emily answered before I could. "He's overwhelmed." I asked Ava what she thought I had agreed to. Emily snapped my name, but Ava said, "You're still my dad. Bennett is Theo's dad. You're moving to the apartment after today, so the baby won't be confused." I had no apartment. 2 nights earlier, Emily and I had eaten takeout on the kitchen floor, while Theo settled to the sound of the exhaust fan. She had leaned against my shoulder and said we were finally surviving the newborn stage. Now my daughter believed I had scheduled my departure after cake. "I'm not moving out today," I told her. Relief crossed her face, then fear. "But Mom said you chose." Bennett suggested we talk privately. He had been my friend since community college, the man who drove me to the hospital when Ava was born and slept in a chair when my car died in the garage. For months earlier, he had held Theo in our kitchen and joked that the baby had my serious eyebrows. Now his hand rested on Emily's back with practiced ease. "You don't get to manage the room," I said. Ruth stopped the pianist. Rachel hurried to the projector and covered the lens with a program. Emily ordered her to leave it. Rachel said, "That is not the slide you sent me." The first explanation became insufficient. Rachel had prepared a picture of all 5 of us, with Bennett identified as godparent. Emily had replaced it that morning. Ruth's binder also contained a statement I was supposedly going to read. "Being a father sometimes means loving a child enough to honor where he comes from. I welcome Bennett into the role that has always been his." My name appeared beneath it. It was not a legal document, but a recording of me reading it would tell both families I had known, consented, and stepped aside. Ruth said Emily had sent the revision the night before because I was too emotional to rehearse. Emily reached for the binder. Ruth closed it. "I am not continuing until everyone named here agrees." Emily said I was panicking because the moment had become real. I looked at Bennett. "Are you Theo's biological father?" His glance toward Ava answered before he did. Emily said, "Not here. You already chose here." Ava stepped between us. "Dad, don't say Bennett isn't his father." Mom showed me the test. My mother sat down with Theo against her chest. Emily gripped Ava's shoulders and said, "This is why we practiced. You know what's true." My daughter had not merely been informed. She had been rehearsed. I made my first mistake. "A home test does not decide who your family is," I told her too sharply. Ava's face hardened. "So it's wrong because you don't like it?" I had turned my terror into an argument with a child, and Emily let the mistake remain visible. She took the microphone and asked guests to wait in the adjoining citrus gallery. When the doors closed, she told me the test had been completed 6 weeks earlier through an accredited home collection service and showed a probability she considered conclusive. I asked why Ava learned before I did. "We prepared her. You made her carry it onto a stage. She wanted a role." Bennett interrupted. Emily had told him I knew paternity was uncertain before Theo's birth. She described our marriage as a practical arrangement that had ended privately after a miscarriage 3 years earlier. According to her, we stayed together for Ava and agreed to date other people. Bennett looked at my wedding ring, then at his own hand. She said you chose honesty, he told me. She said today was your idea. Emily had not simply hidden an affair. She had given every person a different version of my consent and brought those versions into one room before any of us could compare them. Bennett admitted the affair had lasted almost 2 years. For the first 14 months, he knew I still shared Emily's bedroom and wore a wedding ring, but accepted her explanation that we performed a marriage to protect Ava. You watched me make her coffee, I said. People perform marriages. For whom? The dishwasher. He flinched. He was beginning to understand that the excuse he wanted was not the truth, but he was not innocent. He had entered my home, held the baby, and let me call him brother. Why didn't you ask me? Because I wanted her answer to be true. Emily turned on him. Don't apologize because Daniel is making a scene. Bennett said, you told me the scene was his. That became my first plan. Stop the false ceremony, tell the guests the actual timeline, take Ava and Theo home, and handle proof later. Anger made it feel clean. I asked Rachel to bring Ava's coat and the diaper bag. Emily blocked the baby carrier. Theo is not leaving with you. I am listed as his father. For now. Ruth stepped between us and said no child would be moved while adults were shouting. Theo began crying in the gallery. Ava lifted him from Rachel and swayed in the rhythm that always settled him. Through the glass, she stared at us with an expression older than 10. Emily whispered, if you drag this out, she will remember you trying to take her brother from his real father. Rachel opened the door. Ava wants to know if there is still a proposal. Bennett covered the square outline in his jacket too late. Emily had planned more than a father announcement. After I read the statement welcoming Bennett, Ava would deliver her family pledge. Then Bennett would propose beneath the flower arch. The final slide showed Emily, Bennett, Ava, and Theo above a blank date and the words the Shaw family. My surrender was the bridge between their affair and engagement. I was expected to reassure both families, give Bennett my role, and hand my daughter into their picture before he opened the ring box. Bennett stared at the final slide. You said Daniel wanted one transition for both children. He was supposed to give Ava permission to be happy, Emily replied. He gets to remain her father. You become Theo's. Nobody loses a child. I lose my son in front of 80 people, I said. Biology already did that. Rachel asked what Ava lost. Emily did not answer. Ava entered carrying Theo and her reading. She asked Bennett if he was still going to propose. I don't know, he said. Emily answered for him. The plan is still the plan. Bennett stood. Stop doing that. I asked Ava to show me her page. She hugged it to her chest. Mom said you fixed the last line. I have never seen it. Ava looked at Emily, then unfolded the paper herself. Most of it was a child's promise to protect her brother. The ending was not. My dad taught me that love means not holding on to a place that belongs to someone else. I give Bennett my brother, and I keep my dad. Bennett sat on the stage edge. Rachel covered her mouth. Even Emily seemed to hear the cruelty only when Ava read it without music. I don't want you to give anyone away, I said. Ava looked furious. Then why are you making me choose? My plan collapsed. If I carried Theo out, I became the man taking Bennett's biological child. If I left him, I became the man discarding a baby after learning the truth. If I exposed Bennett without limits, Ava would hear that her brother's father was shameful and that she had helped destroy him. Emily had made every visible exit injure a child and point back at me. I still made the wrong move. Theo reached toward me, making the breathy sound he used when he wanted to be held. I took him from Ava. We're going home. Ava planted herself in front of the doors. You promised not to take him from Bennett. I never promised that. Then Mom was right. You were pretending until you could keep him. Guests turned toward her voice through the glass. Theo began to cry. I tightened my arms when I felt Bennett behind me, although he never touched me. For one terrible second, I treated the baby as the last object proving I was his father. Then I saw Ava's fear. I handed Theo to Rachel. No one is taking anyone through that door. Not like this. Emily's plan had trapped me. My plan would have completed it. I asked Ruth for 20 minutes and went outside alone. Through the wet conservatory glass, I watched Emily move from guest to guest, restoring her version. She told my parents I had known paternity was uncertain. She told Bennett's mother I had become possessive only when our private agreement became visible. She told Ava that big feelings made adults forget promises. Each sentence recruited another witness. I called my supervisor to leave the emergency roster, then decided what I could truthfully say. I had not known about the affair, test, apartment, proposal, speech, or planned role change. I loved Ava and Theo. I could not deny Bennett's possible biology or promise the future structure of Theo's life from a stage. I could refuse to let the ceremony decide it. When I returned, Rachel met me at the door. She restarted the live stream. Emily had decided the pause made her look deceptive. The guests were seated again because she had announced that the family wished to clarify a beautiful transition. Ruth stood away from the microphone with her binder closed. She had refused to officiate. Bennett waited beside the flower arch with the ring still in his pocket. Emily had moved ahead without any of us. Families do not always change in the order other people prefer, Emily told the room. She pointed toward an empty chair beside the stage. My new role was literally a place apart. Daniel will always be Ava's father, and he has agreed to support Theo's relationship with his biological father. I walked down the aisle and stopped beside the chair. I did not agree to that. The live stream camera turned toward me. Emily said I had agreed the children came first. That is why neither child will read your script. She accused me of rejecting truth because I disliked the test. I said paternity could be addressed privately. What could not wait was her claim that I planned my removal. You were going to move eventually, she answered. Every marriage like ours ends. My father asked, like what? Bennett's mother stood. Is this what you told my son? Emily said the moment was not about blame. Bennett stepped away from the arch. It is about what you told me. You knew I was married. I knew. I believed the part where you said he knew about us. He knew we were unhappy. That isn't the same sentence. The guests did not unite behind me. Two of Emily's colleagues moved closer to her. My aunt left because children should not hear the confrontation, though she had stayed through the replacement announcement. Bennett's mother asked whether he had slept with Emily while visiting our home. He said yes. She sat without looking at him. Then Bennett pulled out the ring box and offered it to me. I did not take it. This isn't mine. Neither was the decision she assigned you, he said. He faced Emily. I'm not proposing today. Because he embarrassed you? Because you used Ava to make sure neither of us could say no. Emily's eyes filled, but her voice remained hard. You wanted a family. I wanted you and my son. This is how you get us. Not if a 10-year-old has to announce that her father surrendered. His refusal did not erase his betrayal. It did remove the inevitability Emily had manufactured. She called Ava toward the stage. I said Ava would read only if she wanted to. Emily accused me of controlling her. Ruth said, Ava told me she does not want to read. She asked if the ceremony can continue without the family part. The original event had been meant to welcome Theo, not crown a replacement household. Ruth offered to continue with the promises guests had written for the baby if no one mentioned parentage, engagement, separation, or custody. Emily called that absurd. Rachel answered, the reason for today was Theo. You changed it. The witnesses split. Emily's father wanted everyone to leave. My mother wanted Theo to have the cake Ava decorated. Bennett's mother wanted her son to come home. No answer felt clean, so I asked Ava. She said, can Theo have the part that was really for him? The screen stayed dark. Ruth invited guests to read only their original promises. My mother promised Theo a garden tomato every summer. Rachel promised to answer the phone without first deciding which adult was right. Bennett's mother promised never to ask him to fix choices adults made before he could speak. I held Theo while Ruth tied a plain blue ribbon around his wrist. Bennett remained in the back row. Emily stood beside me because she was his mother. For a few minutes, the room welcomed a baby without deciding who had won him. Then Emily took the microphone. Since everyone wants Daniel's version, Let him say whether he plans to abandon a child he claimed for 5 months. Her final trap contained a real question. Bennett's refusal and Ava's request had made my prepared correction unusable. I said, I learned today that Bennett may be Theo's biological father. I did not know about their relationship or agree to this ceremony. I love Ava. I will not promise a custody outcome from a stage, and I will not let either child be told that truth requires giving away a parent. Emily interrupted. That is not an answer. It is the only honest answer available today. I switched off the microphone. Emily reached for it, but Ruth removed the cable. The public mechanism Emily built could no longer speak for anyone. After the guests began leaving, I opened my arms to Ava. She did not step into them. I'm staying with Mom. Theo needs me. I let the choice remain hers. I'll be at Grandpa's. You can call at any time, and you do not have to report on anyone. She asked whether I still loved Theo if the test was right. Yes. Do you hate Bennett? I'm angry with him. He hurt me. I'm not asking you to hate him. Emily had lost the proposal and public blessing, but she still left the garden with both children. My boundary cost me the ending I wanted. My father drove me home to pack. The house contradicted the separation Emily had announced. My boots beside her shoes, Theo's bottles drying near my mug, Ava's science project covering the table. Bennett's jacket hung in the mudroom. I had seen it 3 days earlier and believed he forgot it after bringing groceries. I took clothes and medication but left the nursery untouched. Emily arrived with the children while I closed my bag. You made Bennett leave me, she said. He made a decision. After you humiliated him. You had Ava give him her brother. It was symbolic. She did not know that. Theo fussed and we both moved toward the carrier. Emily reached him first and turned away. Once the test is confirmed, Bennett takes over. You can decide whether to stay in Theo's life without pretending. I asked if Bennett had agreed to that. He had delayed moving in, wanted a verified result, and twice postponed proposing because Ava still treated him like an uncle. Emily decided everyone was waiting for permission no one would give. So you built a room where he couldn't back out. I built momentum. A ring in his pocket, a speech in my mouth, and a goodbye in Ava's hands. She said honesty always costs something. I finally understood that she was not only choosing Bennett over me. She was forcing uncertain people into a finished photograph before any of us could resist. Bennett's hesitation threatened her picture as much as my ignorance did. Ava's fear had become the glue. You keep calling control honesty, I said. You keep calling delay kindness. A floorboard creaked above us. Ava appeared on the stairs with her backpack. I want to go to Grandpa's too. Emily's face went blank. You said you were staying. Ava gripped one strap. I changed my mind. Because Dad talked to you? Because you keep telling me what I said. Emily asked whether she really wanted to leave Theo. Ava started crying. The question worked because it turned one night away into another surrender. I nearly attacked Emily for it, then stopped because Ava would have defended her. Going to Grandpa's is not leaving anyone, I said. You can stay or come with me. Theo will be cared for either way. Ava came downstairs. Emily told her. Remember who kept this family together when it gets hard? I said, no. She remembers she is 10. Ava chose to go with my father. I stayed long enough to warm Theo's bottle because Emily's hands shook too badly to test it. She let me feed him but watched the entire time. When he finished, I placed him in her arms and left without asking Ava to witness the handoff. The next 6 weeks contained one reliable paternity test, one temporary parenting agreement, and more shame than the ceremony could hold. Bennett was confirmed as Theo's biological father. Through attorneys and a child-focused mediator, Emily and I established separate homes and an interim schedule for Ava. Theo's legal parentage and my future contact required slower decisions shaped by state law and adult agreement, so no one promised an outcome in advance. Bennett asked to begin regular care gradually rather than arrive as a replacement father. Emily called that cowardice. I called it the first child-centered thing he had done. I did not forgive him, but I did not oppose every safe step merely because it hurt. The marriage ended. I will not turn the practical months into a second story. What mattered was how everyone behaved when no ceremony watched. Bennett admitted to both families that the affair continued while he knew I believed my marriage was intact. He refused Emily's request to repeat that I had approved it. Ruth returned every staged family statement and kept only the promises written directly for Theo. Emily insisted she had compressed an inevitable transition into one honest day. She remained a capable mother in ordinary ways and struggled whenever anyone else controlled the wording. I made my own smaller version of her mistake. For 2 weeks, I asked Ava questions that sounded casual and were not. Whether Bennett slept over, whether Theo reached for him, whether Emily discussed me. Ava finally put down her cereal spoon. "You said I didn't have to report." I apologized without explaining my fear. After that, I asked about spelling tests, soccer, and library books. If she volunteered information, I listened. If she did not, I survived not knowing. Emily initially wanted my contact with Theo to end because he was young enough not to remember. Bennett disagreed, partly from guilt and partly because he had watched Theo reach for me. The interim arrangement allowed regular time while the adults worked toward something durable. I had no fantasy that love erased biology or law. I refused the claim that biology retroactively erased care. Bennett and Emily never became engaged. They tried to remain together, but his refusal at the ceremony stayed between them as proof that he could leave her script. By Theo's first birthday they had separated, though Bennett was present and learning the unglamorous parts of fatherhood. Pharmacy lines, ruined naps, food returned untouched. Ava stopped carrying messages and called him Bennett, not her almost stepfather. On the first warm evening the next spring, I picked her up from soccer practice and found Bennett beside his car with Theo. Emily's library shift had run late, and Bennett needed to install a new car seat before driving the baby home. The manual lay open on the hood. One strap was twisted. A year earlier I would have fixed it without being asked, then resented him for expecting me to. This time he said, "I can't get the left anchor flat. Will you show me? Do you want me to do it or show you?" "Show me." Ava sat on the curb eating orange slices while I demonstrated once, then made Bennett undo and repeat it. Theo kicked his shoes against the seat and shouted sounds that belonged to nobody yet. When the buckle lay flat, Bennett checked it himself. Got it. I did not tell him he was welcome. We had not restored our friendship. We had completed one necessary task for a child we both loved differently. Ava threw away the last orange peel and climbed into my car. Before I closed her door, she looked across the lot at Bennett securing Theo. "He's his dad," she said. "Yes." She pointed at me. "And you didn't disappear." "No." She nodded, satisfied with two facts that no longer had to cancel each other. Bennett drove out first. I waited until his taillights cleared the parking lot, then followed Ava home without anyone standing before an audience to tell us what family had to mean.